So how can you make your period pains disappear? Please share the secret. Everyone wants to know.
Yeah, so I guess in order to understand it, it's best to understand how the period pain actually, like what's the mechanisms of it or what tends to happen. So the period pain happens because of what's called prostaglandins. And it's a very complicated word for essentially in your uterus, they kind of like this hormone-like lipids, this little like I guess let's imagine you had a cut in your hand. And when you have a cut, like your skin is clearly irritated and it needs to heal. And the thing that heals that inflammation is essentially prostaglandins. And when our uterus basically breaks down, our uterus begins to shed, and we start having our periods, is this prostaglandins that inflame our uterus and that cause the pain. But interestingly enough, without getting too technical, there is three different prostaglandins, and one of them is this inflammatory kind, the one that causes a lot of pain, cramping. For some women, it causes nausea, back pain. Some women are even experiencing diarrhea and they throw up, and it just causes a lot of symptoms. And it's this inflammatory prostaglandins. But there's actually three types of them. So there's two types that are anti-inflammatory, meaning that our body's twice as capable of making us to be in less pain than in more pain, yet so many of us struggle with that pain. So it basically comes down to what is the cause of it. And it's essentially inflammation. A lot of it is the sort of diets that we lead, the sort of lifestyle that we put ourselves under, excessive stress, being in this constant state of productivity that actually puts a lot of burden in our bodies. And it's the culmination of all of those things that actually makes the painful types of prostaglandins more pronounced, making the pain so much more obvious. And it's by addressing your lifestyle, by addressing your stressors, your food, your nutrition, you can actually get to a place where pain is practically non-existent.
And you would say it's holistic, so it's not possible to look at just these things separately. It's in terms of treating period pains or treating your menstrual cycle, you have to look at everything together.
Yeah, I don't believe in spot treating period, just because when we just treat the period, like there is a lot of this, and your listeners might be familiar with it if they're, of course, in their 30s and try to address pain. We've probably seen those gummies and those supplements that are like, this is the miracle cure for period pain. And oftentimes those sort of medications, gummies, supplements that we have, they are meant to address this spot and they promote it as like just to address your period pain. But period pain is so much more complex. It's your entire body, and like female body in particular, our stress glands, our gut health, our liver, our periods are so tightly interconnected. And it's actually through holistic approaches when we're able to do it long term. If we just spot treat it, that's when we sort of take things like ibuprofen, Tylenol, Advil, whatever you live, and you can spot treat it, but you're never addressing the root cause. So if you wanted to address the root cause and never have the issues, which is what I recommend, then yeah, the best approach is holistic. But it also will address your entire health, because the period is really a sign of health. It's kind of like our monthly health report card that every single month when we get our periods, we like, if it arrives pain-free, smoothly, on time, without excessive clotting and like normal flow, then you're like, okay, you did really good. If it arrives maybe delayed, that can signify that maybe you're stressed or maybe you don't have enough nutrients. If it arrives with a lot of pain, that can signify maybe you've been exposed to too many chemicals or your diet has been extra inflammatory. So the period quite literally talks to us every single month, telling us what went on in our bodies. We just don't never been educated how to listen to it. And once we can, that's when we can take agency over our health and just feel overall so much better.
I mean, it sounds incredible, but it's just interesting when you mentioned before about the spot treating of it with, for example, taking ibuprofen. And isn't it crazy how that's what, this is exactly how I believe what happens in my period. I'm actually gratefully don't have such heavy periods. I have to say that as I'm getting older, they have been getting more problematic from when I was younger. And also I froze my eggs 1 year ago. And I think since then, my body definitely reacted in a way where my periods have become heavier since then. I'm not sure if it's like a reaction from the hormones or just more changes in my body. It just happens to be coincided with age. But my instinct or my go-to from social conditioning is to take a quiet day, especially the first day when it's, you feel the most heavy, and just pop some paracetamol, even double up with some ibuprofen. If it gets bad, hot water bottle, bed, work from bed. I have the privilege to do that working from home. But, isn't that what most women have been taught to do, is just to almost grin and bear it, just get through those days of your period, and almost we're supposed to just deal with the pain?
Yeah, and I think that is like half of the population of the world is women. And if we were designed this way, that half of the population was meant to pain in pain and discomfort, I say there is a pretty significant design flaw because it's not meant to happen that half of the population is in pain. However, because it is so common, so many women have accepted that it's actually normal for them to be in pain. But I've seen with my clients over and over, after we've done changes to their diets, often within one cycle, 2 cycles, they can completely eliminate the pain. Your instincts when it comes to taking a rest day is actually correct because during your period, what really happens is your hormones are at an all-time low level. So you have the lowest energy, the lowest concentration of hormones, you tired. And I recommend for women to take like a period leave for 1 day or two if you are able to, because it really allows you to listen to your body. Like as women, we're not meant to constantly produce, and this period is sort of this wonderful time in our cycle where we do have to pull back and like allow our body to do the intensive process that it does. But the fact that you're struggling with pain, there could be things like a bit excess estrogen, and of course, given your history, probably some hormonal disruption, which is what's happening. But it's definitely possible to solve it, and I've solved it with women that have endometriosis, which is a more severe condition of pain. And of course, the regular pain is obvious to address it. And I think the more we question the pain and discomfort, the more we sort of able to bring awareness and education to it and seek the answers to be able to help ourselves. Because no, you should not be curled up into bed in pain for few days out of the month. That's just not acceptable.
Yeah, and you mentioned period leave, and I know some countries have just passed legislation that allows women to actually take menstrual leave, but it's so rare. You know, obviously that's 2 out of however many countries in the world. Do you think that this is something that's going to become more popular and something that's going to catch on
I think
as we move ahead?